that really has changed everything in my business and my excitement about what we do in society and for patients. And it's got to do with red light and near-infrared light. About, I don't know, 2 years ago, Kate called me. She was practicing in a clinic in Virginia, and she said, "Al, have you looked at this red light technology?" I said, "No, I haven't." She said, "Well, in combination with Transformation 360 and red light, in 5 to 10 weeks, we literally create a new person." I said, "Really? You do?" I said, "That's really amazing. Can you somehow bring that red light over, and I can test it out with some people?" And I actually had a few clinics agree to have some patients and the practitioners test it out, and everybody said, "Hey, this is great." But the problem was that it needed a medical physician to oversee, and it was $150,000, which was not something most of my clinicians would be willing to commit to. So I said, well, that's not going to work. And I started my research to find what would be as good and a lot more affordable without having medical people involved, which made it difficult for all the clinicians to operate. After, I don't know, it was a year and a half, I met Dr. Carl Rothschild and his technology, and since then we've been introducing it to clinicians, and it's been amazing. It's not only amazing in terms of the ability for people to immediately experience this concept of inch loss literally in 30 minutes in a very healthy manner, but there is profound benefits from a health standpoint beyond just that concept that I think after stem cells, it's going to be the next big thing in healthcare. Please welcome Dr. Carol Rothschild.
Audience. I mean, I was looking around. I'm from New York. I think I'm going to get up on this. Get up there. I'm from New York, and most of the audience, you would see people moving around, talking, or whatever, and you guys are just paying attention. I love it. Thank you so much for the other people. Now it's my opportunity. Pretty much he said a lot what I was going to say, which is what drives business and what drives success is passion. And I've been a chiropractor for 40 years. I've had 15 practices. And the results that I'm having now with this red light and near infrared is so incredible that I hope I don't turn any of you off, because I'm very, very passionate. You're going to say, it's not possible, the things that he's saying. Now, let's see if I can actually get this thing to work. Which way do I push it? That one there? Yeah, push it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm hoping that when I'm done, you know what, I'll even do better. How many people either have light therapy in their business or they're familiar with light therapy? So it's about half of the audience. So my job is I'm going to tell the other half why you need to be much more familiar with light therapy and include it in your life. If you're a practitioner, you need to do light therapy. If you're not a practitioner, you should be going to a practitioner that uses light therapy. I'm telling you, it's incredible. I'm pointing that way. So I started in light therapy in 1999. So in 1998, I was introduced by Chadwick Smith, who's a famous orthopedist out of USC, and he said, you should be using light therapy. And, at that time, I'd been in practice about 20 years. I thought I had heard it all. And, I'm going to shine a light on somebody, and it's going to make a world of difference. And it took him about 3 months. We finally brought it into our practice, and what a difference. And just imagine the device that I used 20 years ago. Let me state this differently. The one that we're currently using, that I have developed, is 5,000 times more powerful than the one that I was using 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, I was having great success. I'm telling you that if you are a practitioner and you're not using light therapy, you are working at a tremendous, in my opinion, disadvantage. If I put two locations together, they're twins, they're identical. There's no difference between one location and the other, but one has light and the other. I would venture to say that the one's going to be putting the other one out of business. And I'm going to ask you at the end, I probably won't wait that long. Why do you suppose light therapy isn't everywhere? Why do you suppose light therapy is not being used in the OR? I'll go over, I'll discuss that with you, but it's a good question I'm going to ask you. So I'm not the most religious person, but I was praying for a change in my life. Chiropractic's not the easiest thing. I'm telling you, it's manual labor. And we got beaten up in California. At one point, 20 to 25% of all the chiropractors in the world were here in California. So the insurance industry and the medical industry really targeted us in California and kicked our butts. But imagine in my prayers, I found something that can assist me with weight loss. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't think there's anybody here that knows weight loss as well as I do, because I've been on a diet since the day I was born. My mother became an executive of Weight Watchers, ruined my life, but I know it inside out. I know it really well. And it ain't easy. If you're talking about the insanity of my family, where there's cravings and neurotic, and you know where everybody was going to be on a party. Where do you think they were going to be? In the kitchen. So, food was a major part of our lives. And now I'm introduced to something, or I'm going to introduce you to something, if you don't know, that will help with any other diet, will assist them with the effortless part of it. Because I'm telling you, if you take somebody who loves to eat, and you put them on a diet that has the word associated with it called deprivation, it will work, but as soon as they're off the diet, they're going to gain that weight all back and more so. So at any rate, effortless and healthy weight loss. It's very big in anti-aging, and we'll tell you about that in just a second. And it's incredible about natural healing. Now, I didn't put the slideshow completely together, so I'm going to probably try not to repeat myself, but I want to talk to you about natural healing. If I wrap this device, it's pads, if I wrap this light around your head, I can help you with dementia, migraines. How about Alzheimer's? Could put it around your chin and help you with gum disease. Put it around the kidneys, and we will cure your kidney disease. Depends on the cause of it, but most kidney disease. And I can wrap it around any joint in your body, and I will most likely cure it. I've had people come in with 80% tears. They were signed up to be slated for surgery. We figured we had 10 days before they were going to actually go to pre-op, and we cured them regularly. So why do you suppose surgeons don't like this so much? Why do you suppose it's not in everywhere? Because there's a lot more money to be made from cutting somebody than there is from not cutting somebody. So, sorry, but that's my feeling. It's an all-cash business, no more insurance companies. After being a chiropractor for as long as I was, it became a pain in the butt dealing with insurance companies and no more attorneys. Now, I see that it says that this dinner is hosted by Pernia Law Group. I don't take this personally, but PI attorneys are not my favorite. A pain in the butt. What do you think, Julia? They're a pain in the butt. Now, ironically, getting back to attorneys, I owned a business that had 120 offices in California. I didn't own all the offices, but I owned the marketing. We marketed these facilities to personal injury attorneys. I guarantee you there are not that many of you that have dealt with as many PI attorneys as I have. And now you know why I don't want to deal with them anymore. It's extremely easy to administer this device that we're talking about. To get back to the device that I used 20 years ago, if I were going to do diabetic neuropathy, okay, I have to trace the low back sciatic notch all the ways down the leg and the foot. It could take a day. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it'd take a long time. And now we can take a pad, we can take a few pads, put it on there, it takes 60 seconds to set up. Set the timer, remember to wave goodbye as you walk out of the room and come back 20, 30 minutes later. They're asleep, most people, when they're on this therapy. And so, yes, it's very easy to administer. And it does not require a health practitioner's license. The device is as dangerous as shining a flashlight on somebody. The downside is zero. There are no side effects. Couldn't hurt somebody if you tried unless you threw the flashlight or our device at somebody's head. And so that for that reason, it does not require a license. So many of my chiropractic owners don't have to be in town while it's being administered. And this may be an exaggeration, but how many people over, let's say, 35 couldn't use either weight loss, which is a good percentage of the population, or we're going to also talk to you how with the anti-aging, we have a device, part of the device is a mask that goes over the face, and it's not subtle. I'll show you some pictures. It ain't subtle. We're going to change the face that that person will look at least several years, if not more, younger. So a little history that made it even more exciting, because I was involved with light therapy, as I said, but about 8 years ago, a plastic surgeon down in South America, of all places, noticed that the fat came out easier with liposuction when he used a certain wavelength of light energy before the surgery. Now, if you listen to that, what I just said, when they heard that, it drove people nuts, and they went crazy building devices to take advantage of this red light that changed the permeability of the fat cell wall, that eventually learned that, and actually shrunk the fat cells without having to do surgery, and it couldn't hurt the person if you tried. But they were relatively weak. Imagine you had the first computer or the first iPhone or whatever, you know, and compare to the technology as it is today. But back then, we had you know, it was the state of the art, but it really didn't work so great, and they were god-awfully expensive. And what we've all done, including myself, got involved with making it faster, making it stronger, making it less expensive. That's the way technology goes. Your computers are less expensive, and if they're not, the reason why they're more expensive or the same price is because they do unbelievable things that we couldn't do before. My first computer, we would set the computer overnight to alphabetize our list of patients. Things are a little different now. So what should a person look for in a light therapy device? If you're thinking of getting one, if you have one and you don't have these things, I think you should talk to one of my people, my associate back there. Her name is Pamela. Go, Pamela, stand up for a second. Say hello. So the only crazy thing is that the only way you can see our device is you have to go to her room. That someone said, I said, Pamela, is it out here somewhere? No, it's we set it up in my room. Where's your room? Oh, somewhere in the hotel. So, okay, well, so she's going to have a lot of visitors over there, I think. First of all, you want to look for equipment, in my opinion, that's built in the United States. Customer service and things like that are going to be far superior when you have something built in the United States. We discussed with people the difference between lasers versus LEDs. The first devices were all lasers. The unique thing about lasers is they're very unidirectional. They shoot right straight down, and they're deep penetrating. The thing about LED is it's a more diffuse ray, so it will cover much more area. And it was true that at one time the laser was far superior in depth penetration than what we were having back then in the LEDs, and that's not true any longer. So we like LEDs, and the reason also is in many states, well, in particular California, only people with certain degrees are allowed to use a laser for something other than orthopedic style problems. So a chiropractor like myself could not use a laser for weight loss or acupuncture points or anything like that. But you can use LED. Chinese versus German. So up until a couple of years ago, actually a year ago, we were all stuck with the same thing, having to get Chinese-made. So I told you the device is made in the United States, but the lights are not, there are no lights built in the United States. You have to go out, and they were really only built in China. So we had to get them from China, and there was a slight problem with China. Customer service, terrible, and the quality control, even worse. So we were getting not good lights, let's put it that way. We're getting inconsistent results, and so a year ago we were able to find a German company that we're having phenomenal success with them. So of course, power is very important. I told you that my device that we currently have developed is 5,000 times stronger than what I was using 20 years ago. The tissue coverage, as I told you, the unit was just the size of what's called an ultrasound head, maybe that big. And now we can use 3-foot size pads, so we have amazing tissue coverage. And then something very important that I would like you to learn about is there's a lot of different wavelengths, but the color wavelength of the rainbow is really relatively short amongst all the different types of energies like X-ray and all these different types of rays. And within there are two that they have found that are unbelievably effective in healing and in some other things is red light and this thing called near infrared. Now, infrared is a funny word because it has far infrared, mid-infrared, and near infrared. And the difference between those three are remarkable. Far infrared is about heating up. That's basically it. But so when someone says it has infrared, I have to tell them, no, ours is near infrared. What's beautiful about near infrared is it's near infrared is that it's unbelievably healing. Again, that's the thing that I'm talking about, wrapping it around someone's head and curing them of dementia and a variety of different things. So when you combine the red and near infrared, we know that red drains the fat from the fat cells. That's what they found out 7 or 8 years ago. It was a red light only device. And I've had red light only devices, I've had near infrared only devices, and they both do significantly different things. They were selling and providing red light for healing. It didn't work as well. But the near infrared is very healing. But the red, and I didn't have a red light at that time, that's where they found out about the draining of the fat cells and shrinking the fat cells. So the near infrared really is effective in increasing collagen and elastin formation, reducing sagging skin. We get a lot of people that go, well, I'm going to lose the weight. What about my sagging skin? This will tighten the skin. And cellulite, I'll show you, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but the cellulite on the women will take a woman that's embarrassed about her leg and then soon after not. We're talking about something that takes two weeks to a month for most of these things. And again, as it say on the bottom, it says the most healing wavelength. Incredible. What you also should be looking at is that make sure that your device is right on the skin. So they have devices out there that are like tanning salons where it's off the skin. And the reason why they have that is the tanning salon doesn't want to be bothered by having hire another person that actually administers it. They just want the person to run in there, press a button, the thing comes down, and it's about 6 to 8 inches off their body. And it makes sense, but it doesn't work nearly as well. Once you come off the body, the wavelength, the power is reduced exponentially. So you want to be on the skin if you can be. Again, we talked about no special license, so we just have to have, we just train any staff member in the office to be able to do this. It's fast and easy. It's all about weight loss, and that's about draining the fat out of the fat cells, and then you need to be trained on how to it's one thing to drain the fat out of the fat cells. The fat is still sitting around the fat cells, and what we'll teach to people, how do you move that fat away from the fat cells and to either be used by the body or eliminated. Then as I mentioned to you about, it's incredible for anti-aging and then healing. So this picture was sent to us by a lady in Texas. I can't remember her name. Jennifer Owen, that was her name. And this was one of her patients. And this is the before picture. Now, when I had the light, the weaker light that I'm talking about, we were still having great success. And I worked in a plastic surgery center post-operatively. And somebody like this would come in and we would be doing, they would be doing tummy tuck. Now, if you've ever know what a tummy tuck is, they're going to cut them open from one end. Is there a light that shines from this?
That red line.
They're going to cut you open from here all the ways across. They want to be under the belly button. And by the way, when they cut all this away, they also often take the belly button off. And then when they try to put the belly button on, about 10% of the time, it doesn't take. So it's unbelievably painful. It's expensive as heck. And it didn't always work. And it didn't look all that natural. And this is what Jennifer sent us after 6 weeks with this patient. This is better than a tummy tuck, and in my opinion, it's much more natural looking. There is no downtime. There's no soreness. There are no side effects. Imagine how difficult it is to get stupid FDA clearance on something like this, and there has never been a reported side effect in the 40 years that it's been used. Never. Then we had Maddie Turner. She's from Knoxville, Tennessee. I had to bribe her to let me use her picture because most people don't want me to use their face. So look at the, under the chin and jowl region, the fine lines and wrinkles. And then look at what happened. This was, anybody want to take a guess how many visits this took? 3. Now, that's not typical. It usually, we recommend a 12-visit program, but that was 3 sessions. So you better bet she was very thrilled with these kind of results. And this is not unusual for us to have these kind of results, but 3 is a little short. Now, this lady came into the facility in Florida, and they didn't take pictures right away. So this is after a few days, before we had treatment on her. And she was slated to have 6 months of pain, 6 months of healing, and at the end, she'd have permanent scarring. And she started on our red light, near infrared program, and in 10 days, it was completely healed. 10 days. And actually, that same day, the first day, she had significant improvement right then and there. So that G over there is how I told you how it can translate from one PowerPoint presentation to. So imagine that's a big black, box or something like that. So it's a new client machine. So there's nothing more popular than effortless healthy weight loss. There's nothing. I mean, if I'm giving out gold, okay, yeah, maybe. But effortless healthy weight loss. Imagine the word healthy. We're not putting anything in the body, and we're not ripping anything out of the body. We don't kill anything. When you think of some of these others where they freeze the fat, where they use ultrasonic cavitation or radio frequency or whatever, what they're really doing is they're destroying tissue. And someone has the warped notion that we were born with a whole bunch of tissue that we don't need. It's essential tissue. Fat cells do much more than just store fat. I'm not going to get involved with it, but let's just say that it's involved with stem cells. We talked about that. It's involved with hormonal development, and yes, it stores fat and toxins as well. So we don't kill or destroy anything. Typically, it's recommended, depends on what the person's needs are, anywhere from 8 to 30 sessions. But if we get someone that's compliant, now that's not a restrictive deprivation diet. It's just what we call smart eating. We're going to keep down the starchy carbohydrates, simple sugars, sodas, and alcohol. If they do those 4 things, starchy carbohydrates, simple sugars, sodas, and alcohol, we will all be out of business when it comes to weight loss, because no one's going to stop that, but at least cut it down a little bit. And then typical charges are anywhere from $1,200 to $7,000. So we can't go to the surgeons. They're the ones that we have the most difficult. So if I go to a podiatrist, for example, that doesn't do surgery, they see the light. They understand it. They can get it. But if they do surgery and I'm telling them, well, you can do this and not do surgery, or you can make a lot of money doing surgery, I can't compete with that. So as long as they're all going to make a lot of money doing surgery, you just have to, we have to educate the world that just because you talk in front of somebody. By the way, when you elect me president, the most important thing not the most important, an important thing is that the guy that's recommending the surgery should never be the guy doing the surgery. But that's just me. So anyhow, there was more information on the bottom. If you ever want to know how to get a hold of me, I have cards. But my contact information is down there. You just can't see it. So just for a second, if you guys have any questions. If not, I'll be out there if you have any other questions. But if you're not using light therapy, I think you're making a mistake. You should investigate it as best you can. If you're a patient or potentially a patient of somebody, make sure they're using light therapy and understand it well. Okay? Any questions? None? Now, there's only 2 reasons why there's no questions.
There's a question here.
One, I did such a good job, but no one understood anything I said. What?
No, we did. From malignant
I'm sorry, what? Okay, now, malignant wounds?
like carcinoma.
Okay, so there are 2 things I told you there's no side effects. But for legal reasons, there are 3 things I tell people to stay away from. One is pregnancy. When that kid comes out anything other than normal, they're going to blame anybody that was in the neighborhood, and I just don't want my people in that neighborhood, even though we couldn't hurt that fetus or mother if we tried. And cancer's right up there. Things pop out in a person's body, and they want to, there are these things that, I know the perineal law group's great, but there are some attorneys that are just, they can't wait to sue anybody for anything. And so, one of the things is, is to stay away from 3 things. Pregnancy, active cancer, not inactive cancer or cured cancer. And the third thing is a fragile patient. If the person's already, on their last leg, I would have my people not necessarily working on them. Any other good questions?
Patients with pacemakers, they're okay?
Depends on why they have the pacemaker. The question was, what about if a person has a pacemaker? Now, so that's what I do all day long, all week long, is I answer questions from our providers, of what the smartest things are, and answer these questions, and pacemaker comes up a lot. And the concept behind pacemakers, why do they have it? Now, if a person has a pacemaker because there's just an electrical imbalance and they're otherwise healthy, they're fine. But if they're on their last leg, it goes back to being a fragile patient. And so most pacemaker problems, no, again, the reason why a pacemaker is okay is because the device is a light. It's not electrical. So it's like a flashlight. If you shine a flashlight over someone's heart, it's not going to affect the electrical impulse. Same thing with implants. So if a person has a metal implant, when you're doing ultrasound or some of these other therapies, it will concentrate in the metal. It can actually heat the metal up a lot. Our light wouldn't do anything like that. So it's okay for metal implants or anything like that. Yes, sir?
How deep is the penetration?
It's deep enough. It depends on the part of the body that we're working on. The beauty of fat, because that's what brings in 80% of the people, is fat. No, if I advertise on one day, I'm going to advertise, I'll help you with your wrist, carpal tunnel, I'll help you with your tennis elbow, I'll help you with all these things. And then I put the same paper, I'll put an ad saying effortless healthy weight loss. 80% of the people that come into my office will be for that weight loss. So the beauty is that fat is very superficial, and so we affect all the fat cells. It's really, I can't give you a measurement because I'm told anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches, but we can get into the tissues, and then with repetition and time, we can affect just about any tissue in the body. Like I said, the kidneys, things like that. Now, if I have to get very deep, then I will use a laser. And I'm very familiar. I've had 4 lasers in my one practice as we got the first class 1, 2, 3, and we went all the way to class 4. Thank you for that question. Yes, ma'am.
After a series of sessions, is there a maintenance, like?
You talking about for weight loss?
Yeah, weight loss, yeah.
Okay, well.
Like, is there some kind of recommended maintenance, like come back in 6 months?
You're singing my song. So, yes. So we do a basic training, and Pamela, who's in the back over there, is affiliated with teaching everybody with the basic training. And then after you get your basic training, they come to my advanced training, which we do 1 or 2 or 3 times a month, depends on, like, if there's a July 4th, we can't do it then. And so several Thursdays we'll do these advanced trainings. And in it, one of the most important things I talk about is it's actually easier to lose the weight than it is to keep it off. And so that reason we teach them about a Keep It Off club that they do on Tuesday nights in their office. And, how important it is to have them come in at least once, if not twice a month. When they've reached their target, then we put them on maintenance. And that's more important. And we also teach them to have them pay for the entire year of maintenance in advance. Because we're talking about people who've lost the weight, and now the energy's off of it a little bit. They're fitting into their clothing. And within a year, guess what? They're going to put all that weight back on. And it's not because of our diet or your diet or anyone's diet. The history shows 95% of the people will put all their weight back on. And that's why the weight industry is incredible. It's so huge. And it's because most people who come to your office to lose weight, that's not their first time. It could be their 12th time. So they're used to trying it, failing, trying it, and failing. And it was a great question. Thank you. And we got one more over here. Yes.
How long is typically each session?
How long is each session? So there's a few phases within the session, but the actual lights are for 20 to 30 minutes. So then we also do some work to lymphatic drainage, which can be as short as 10 minutes. Depends. Okay? Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, I can be answered over there. Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's right here. Okay, thank you very much for that, Dr. Carl. Before I introduce you to the next speaker, I just want to tell you that this red light for us was not only a great add-on for all the reasons I just told you before Dr. Carl spoke, but we as a company have a mission to move our healthcare system to a preventative model. And one of the biggest challenges in this mission is how do we, one, engage society, to get involved with our clinics, and in the process, get them to understand the importance of becoming proactive with their health. And I've been in this business for 25 years. There's nothing been more simple and easier to engage people around than this concept of immediate inch loss in one session. So one of the reasons I got so excited about this is, separate from the health aspects, is the ability to use this as a way to generate patient flow into clinics that work with us. We've developed a number of incredible channels that any clinic that works with us, we can then drive people in for this concept of immediate inch loss. In the process, educate them about some of their other issues. Once you give people what they want and they're excited with their results, now they're open to what they need. And once they realize they've got these other health issues, they become very open to addressing them, especially as they start understanding these two paradigms of disease management versus prevention. And they realize prevention is the only true solution, and the only real health insurance is prevention. Our insurance industry is not really taking care of all the costs. Like I said before, half the bankruptcies have to do with people going down with a catastrophic. So once they realize that this is working, they're happy, you start explaining to them other issues they have, they understand the importance of it, they start working further beyond that initial weight loss. So that's why I got so excited, because it now has become a channel for us to really impact society around all the clinics that work with us, and we've created a lot of programs that's going to drive people into those clinics.